I would like to take a moment before we get into today's main episode and to talk about my sponsor for the podcast. Podmatch is a new podcasting site dedicated to all podcasters. The platform helps hosts get connected with potential guests to appear on their show, as well as allow guests to find podcasts that will give them a chance to share their story. Podmatch offers many tools to help organize your page, from to-do lists to episode planning to potentially appearing on a leaderboard. Podmatch has it all. The best part, you have the potential to get paid. And who doesn't like to get paid from home? I like to. With an easy sign up, you can start connecting with podcasters and guests immediately. I have been a part of Podmatch since the beginning of May, and I have got to say that it was the best decision I've ever made because Podmatch helps your podcast grow. It helps you get connected with people that have very interesting, very compelling background stories that are just waiting for their story to be shared. So if you are a host or guest and would like to start building professional relationships, explore more opportunities, and have your story shared, I highly suggest that you sign up with Podmatch today by going to joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to start expanding your network in seconds. I would like to give another huge thank you to Podmatch for sponsoring this episode. Now on to our main episode, and again, you can sign up at joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to begin your podcasting journey today.
Thank
Hello
you, Sarah.
everyone, welcome. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Lethal Venom podcast, the show where I talk about anything I want with the honest to God truth and the last told. Today I'm joined by Ms. Danielle Styron and her brother James Styron. They are both authors of the summer's hilarious memoir, The Mile High Club: Confessions of a Private Jet Flight Attendant. I mean, you kind of heard the comedy right there from them. They are joining me today, and they're going to spill secrets about what life was like as a flight attendant. Danielle was an ex VVIP flight attendant, and her brother James was the translator for the book. They both wrote this book together. So they're going to tell me some stories about what the celebrity jet set club and Uber rich life was like. So I can't wait for them to spill some of their stories today, and I hope y'all enjoy it as well. So Danielle and James, thank y'all so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having us,
Hey,
Noah.
Noah, thank you for having us. Yeah, it's been fun already. I can't wait to see where this goes.
I'm definitely gonna keep that intro in because that was great. It was just like, thank you, Sarah. And I was like,
Just ignore me. My whole thing is like crave attention. So
well, it kind of showed like y'all's comedy in there. I mean, y'all wrote like a comedy book and like a hilarious memoir. So I thought, oh, that was perfect. So feel free to introduce yourselves and tell my listeners a little bit, just kind of your life story about how this how this memoir came to be, and more importantly, how did a flight attendant, how did that career choice come to be for you guys?
Okay, so gosh, so I my friends had a job intervention with me is how I became a flight attendant. And it started that I was going to be working for, we had like a friend of a friend at Southwest. And then when all my girlfriends in Florida, you know who you are, got together, they said, have you met Danielle? She would not last 1 minute on Southwest Airlines. Like not a chance. So my other girlfriend, I hear clickety clack on the computer. And 2 seconds later, she's like, Danielle, there's a private flight attendant school down in here in Fort Lauderdale. Why don't you go? I was like, is this for real? One of my girlfriends came with me. You know who you are. She was a flight attendant prior on JetBlue. She came to this 6 day class with me. I spent the last of my savings, except like maybe $500. Okay. And I came away thinking, oh, this potentially is a scam. This is like 89% a scam. Everybody in my life was like, there's no way this is a real job. There's no way that you like fly people around for like going to fabulous destinations and here and there and doing the food. And turns out they were wrong. This is a real industry. And so it was so crazy and bizarre that James convinced me to turn my like trauma journal and rage journal into a book.
well, I was her rage journal, so she was leaving a lot of these stories on me, which I love. Always here for my sister to play a swearapist to trademark a term that came up earlier, but we didn't. was not taken yet. Uh, but I told her, like, I write, and I know that the best way to get an idea out of your head that you can't stop thinking about is to put it down on paper, or in a notes app or in a voice note. So we would talk, and then she would, maybe before or after, but she would write the story. She would just recount what had happened. And, after several years of Danielle flying some of the world's most famous monsters, and also some nice people, you also know who you are. Um, but we ended up with a boatload of stories that showcase some pretty shocking behavior, the tendencies of, the worst tendencies of some of America's most favorite people. And we decided, let's do something with it. Let's like I told Danielle I'll help, create plot and give them structure and flow, and we'll give them a very clear start and finish. We'll throw in a little exposition and retell the stories as they happen, make them an interesting, hilarious read. We punched them up, um, made them funny. I think they're very funny. We still laugh when we read them, which has got to be a good sign, because we've read them 10,000 times. Um, but it was a labor of love and trauma, but I think therapeutic in its own way. So yeah.
So when it came to training, because I know you didn't really have any experience beforehand about this, so what was the training for this kind of position like? Was it kind of different from a flight attendant? Because usually if you're flying celebrities, it's a private jet and they have like maybe a few seats. So was it kind of a different kind of training compared to like a commercial airplane?
Exactly, completely different. So commercial airlines have like 7 weeks of training. We had 6 days. So
Oh
it
wow.
So it did feel scammy.
it felt really scammy. It's not. It's 100% legit. And turns out you don't need so much. I mean, mostly the training is you're learning how to like evacuate people, get them off. You're learning about different types of landings. You're doing evacuations in water. When you do flight safety and things, they put you in the water, they turn you upside down. They do all kinds of stuff. Like I think the Navy SEALs have that cage that they put you in. They put the blackout goggles on and you strap yourself, yeah, you strap yourself into the like steel cage, like a seatbelt, and then they tip you over in the water. And so then you learn to escape. So it's a pretty legit training, you know? Then they put you in the basket, where they do the water rescue. So you know what that's going to be like and you can prepare people for that. And basically the basket just like spins 1,000 miles an hour and there's water spraying in your face. And like I'm thankful to be rescued, but also like, you might not make it as non-waterlogged as you'd hoped, at that point. So it's very cool training. They even have like a fake airplane that they like pretend crashes into water and it like crashes into the low end of the pool and you have to like get everybody out. So it's a pretty cool training, and it's dark in there and because it will be dark if you crash into the ocean. So they really do prepare you. But the school that I went to was a little bit, like a fourth tier law school in the Caribbean. It wasn't necessarily like the best of the best at the time. But you get it where you can fit in when you're poor and broke and trying to get into a new industry. You do what you can.
Yeah, I mean, I've been offered jobs too that ended up being scams. I won't, do I want to call them out? Well,
Oh,
it
do
was
it.
a it was a newspaper in that I had actually gotten. It was an actual business, and I had gotten a text from them saying, or an email from someone that worked there that said that they had a job offer for me, that they were offering me a job. And of course, I kind of did research, and when I saw that it was an actual paper, I thought, well, surely enough, it wouldn't be a scam since it was a paper and it was kind of a legit email. It was contracts I signed and everything. And it ended up being a scam because which I think they were trying to get me to do something I wasn't supposed to do. It was a work from home job, and of course I lived in Auburn and it was a remote position. So we actually they were supposed to be sending me money to buy like all this equipment that I was supposed to have from home. They were going to give me all kinds of equipment like a a power adapter cord, an extension thing that has multiple plugins or had like specialized plugins, a dual monitor, which I already had one computer screen, so honestly I could just have one to just buy an extra screen.
Mm.
So they were supposed to be sending me a check. Well, the check never came, and this number had texted me too. So it was a two-person process in it, and I noticed that this number was from Maine. I did some
Mm.
research, and I thought, well, Maine and Philadelphia are not that far. It's
Well, they're not
kind
that
of it's
close either.
right, but I thought, well, it's an easy distance, so maybe they just
Sure.
moved. If it was more out west, I would have had a little bit more suspicion, a
Mm.
little bit. Um, but I called them out and they ended up blocking my number, blocking everything. But they were smart. They didn't know they were just dealing with a recent college graduate, so they didn't know they were dealing with an intelligent person.
Mhm.
I screenshotted every text message I got from them, every phone call history that I had with them, or me trying to call them, the emails they sent me, the contract that they had me to sign. I sent like every kind of proof I could
Yeah.
to the and they ended up not really doing anything. So it seemed to me that this seemed like a reoccurring thing that's
Sure.
happened. It was like, oh, okay. It wasn't like, oh, we're so sorry that this happened. I thought, so this has happened before, and y'all are
Right.
not going to do anything. So I that was the first time I got scammed from as a job. So I'm like, for you, email jobs are so 50-50. It's you never know. And I don't really take jobs from emails anymore due to that experience
Mm.
because
Yeah.
we could have done the legal process, but we didn't want to get into all that. There's
Sure.
just so
Exactly.
much.
Ex-
And, but I think they were just ended up, they wanted just, I guess they thought that I would have caved in and just would have bought the stuff without the check. But I thought, free money, hello. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to use my own money if y'all going to pay for it. I'm like, I'm just going to wait for the free
Exactly.
money.
Did they tell you to buy it first and they would
People are
reimburse
so
you?
crazy.
No, they
Okay.
actually did not.
That's
So,
that's good that you waited.
my roommates too were
Smart.
like, they seem so dumb. And I said, it's the stupid, they were smart, but dumb at the same time.
Yeah.
Like,
The
they didn't
fine
scam
line to
me.
walk.
They're like, they didn't scam me out of money. They didn't scam my personal information. Like, they didn't take my social security. They didn't take any like personal information from me. So, I mean, smart and dumb at the same time.
Yeah, like
This
what was
is
the
a weird
point at the end?
Yeah.
concept.
What was the point?
Yeah, it
So
was.
crazy.
I think until they got called out, they got scared, and I was like, no, y'all
Mhm.
aren't gonna get rid of that. So I
Never.
sent I took every screenshot. I was like, y'all
Mhm.
just don't know I'm not stupid. I have a degree.
Mhm.
Like I have a degree. Y'all don't know who you're messing with. But
Um,
Oh,
so
there was
that
a to commiserate with that, there was a podcast that someone had tried to we started communicating with them and they wanted us, we thought, it was legit. They were gonna bring us into the studio to like do it on their set. And then the one thing they said was like, oh, we're gonna do like a deposit to like help
for like a
like
background check or something.
no, it was to like secure the studio.
Oh,
Something they were like, and we'll give it back to you, but it's like a security deposit, and we also asked for like a tip thing. And I was like, well, hang on a second, like who like this is not like
do
a
you have a
common
computer?
it's
You
not like
know,
a common thing that like people do. Like you rent studio space, like the guests don't put down security deposits. It was very interesting. So anyway, I did a little research, got like IP addresses and did what you did, just screenshots and everything. And I was like, just, got them to give me some sort of like permanent contact information, pay slip, whatever. And then I just forwarded it all to the podcast. It was like, FYI, this person is scamming people in your name. They did not respond. They were not at all worried.
no.
Um, but they'd asked for something like $600 or something. I was like, pause. What? No, that's not a thing people do. So
Yeah, I've never heard of. I have heard of people that do say, "Oh, by the way, it's like $20 to be a guest on the show." I don't like people that use money for that. If
yeah,
you want to do that, do subscriptions or do something.
yeah.
Don't. there's other ways for you to get paid for the podcast. Like
Yeah, it's hard to
I
put on a guest.
I've been there was like I've even met some people on Podmatch too that have had like they had to put down the fee, and I was like,
It's
Oh,
like
for
no.
you to interview them
Well,
or vice versa. Like
I
you as
think
to
both.
appear. Oh,
I think I've had it happen to me for both. It's been I've there's been times where I've had to pay to be a guest on their show and I was like no, and I think one time I actually had someone say that I had to pay them for them to be a guest on my show. I think, but I definitely haven't been asked to pay to be a guest, and I thought,
yeah.
yeah, to anyone that's a podcaster or is a podcaster and has done it for years, don't pay someone to be on your show because
no,
that's not a good look on you, or to me, it's not. And if you're a guest and a podcast asks you to pay money to be on their show, don't do that. Don't do
exactly.
that. It's not, you don't want to pay to be a guest on their show because what if you pay and it's an awful show?
Right. And it
I've
just feels
also,
like unethical, a little icky. It's like pay to play or something, right? Like you got to pay like journalism is works that way. Did you study journalism?
I did.
Yeah, so so it's extremely unethical to like ask for payment for giving information. Um,
Mhm.
Stories are not really run that way.
That's so
Otherwise, they're
crazy.
advertisements, and that's not something that you can like, you can't rely on that.
But then the police ask for that and they pay for it.
Well, they offer an incentive.
Like I had an FBI boyfriend who had he made like $100,000 a year and his informants were making like $300,000 a
But
year
that's
to be
informant.
an
That's not
informant.
that's not like a public record, right? That's behind the scenes stuff.
Fair.
That's like, I'll give you money if you help me take
Still
down.
secrets. I
Yeah.
guess we didn't say which secrets we're going to spill. Sorry, FBI.
Hi, FBI.
I even had one guest come on my show, and I had never heard this before either, that they were a guest on someone's show, and the person I interviewed, who was it? I've interviewed so many people, but it was just like recent. It was like a recent interview I did. And they had mentioned and said something that, oh, I said something on their show that they didn't like, so they're like, we're not gonna post your episode. And I said, what? And I said, just because you said something that they didn't agree with, they didn't post it, they're not gonna post it. And they said,
Wow.
no. And I said, I've never met a podcast do that.
No.
I've never heard of that before. So that's another thing I've told people. I said, don't post an episode because of someone's opinion, because
Mhm.
and then that's going to be a waste of your time. That's going to be a waste of your
Yeah.
guest time, and that's just going to be, I mean, and that's also a waste of storage for your computer, waste of
Yeah,
recording,
everything.
and you
All of
never know for
it.
them. So I've always said if it's even if it's a bad interview, post it because
Okay.
or just
That's great advice, actually.
it's like if even if it's the worst interview you've done, or even if it's a podcast episode. Now, if it's like a solo episode, yeah, I mean you don't have to post it because it's your thing. It's not going to affect anyone, but just maybe your own time. But
Yeah.
it's more respectful for them because they came on there and wanted to do the interview with you about something,
Mm,
and for you not to post it, it's just like
poor
kind
take.
of poor taste, and it's just like not very professional. So
Right.
if you've done an interview and it's like the person was really bad in it, still post it because it shows that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't post it, that kind of ruins your credibility a little bit, and that might affect it. Of like, oh, well, if I go in there, will I say something that might not get my episode posted? So don't don't ever not post an episode if you have a guest on there. Always post it.
And if there's something that you disagree with, just maybe use an edit button if you want to cut part of the interview out. I'm not sure that's enough to like sour an entire interview. People edit things all the time. It's very easy to cut a chunk out. We did a interview for the New York Post where he spent, about a week just editing it down. We gave him a volume of response to a lot of his questions, and
We were like,
he promised he was like, don't worry, like I will cut it down. I will make you. I will get the nuggets, the golden nuggets out of this interview, just to make sure that we all looked and sounded coherent and our best. Not that, need that much help. I think we pretty polished.
Um, so I think what everyone wants to know is the stories. I know we've been
Mm.
going on tangents and stuff. I bet
I
people are like,
know.
when's the story coming up? But a question that I
Never.
had beforehand was, I know it's different when you're doing like these high profilers. Were there days where you kind of just had to sit by the phone and be like, hey, so and so needs is flying from this location to this location. We'll need you to come pick them up on this day. Or did you have to like, did you stay in one particular place to pick up celebrities or did you have to travel?
Okay, so yeah, to answer your first question, yes, there was a lot of that where you're like, so and so's requested you to come pick them up here. They're going X, Y, and Z. Then they're going on to the next location. Maybe they're going on tour, maybe they're going on vacation, maybe you're not exactly sure, but sometimes you're not even privy to what really the situation is. But usually, if it's high profile, they will give you the information like you're taking them to a gig where they're going to be working, or it's a family trip and you're going to be staying on the island with them. There's a lot of that, you know. It kind of depends. If the plane is going somewhere that is going to be remote, then you'll stay with the plane and the clientele. If the clientele might be jumping around a lot, you'll stay with the clientele. If, for instance, there could be something that could change on their trip, and that client might want to leave the island or the location sooner rather than later, you stay. If it's a tour, you stay. If it's a business trip, usually you stay because you're jumping around location to location, 1 to 2 locations a day. Um, but it also just kind of depends. You know, I feel like I was really lucky in that I was VVIP, and VVIP means I was doing the clients that maybe had a bad trip the last time and they need a really good trip this time to keep them with our company. Maybe they're VVIP because they're spend so much money with us,
Mhm.
right? Maybe they're
Mhm.
VVIP because they actually are super high profile. They're doing like a super secret mission. There was a couple of those and nobody could know anything. And I mean, I feel like it's ironic that we wrote a book about it because I was extremely trustworthy. I, one, am
Mhm.
unfazed by celebrity. Not that I don't love and respect your art and your work. I think it's fantastic, but I just have a firm grip on reality. We're all humans. We're all doing this together. Like we're same kind of vibes. So I'm trustworthy like that.
Mhm.
Also, like that's kind of why we didn't say names because like there's no point in throwing anyone under the bus. These are just crazy stories and like a crazy
Mhm.
life. And they're hilarious. And also, if you were my clients and you did these things, I'm still laughing about it. I think it's absolutely hilarious and insane. And if you're not laughing about it, maybe that's part of the problem,
Taking things a little seriously.
you
And
know?
that was like a recurring theme. People take themselves very seriously at that level.
I may have gone a little long-winded with the answer to the question, by the way. Sorry
It's
about
okay.
that.
No worries. This
That-
is y'all's interview stuff. I had one person talk 40 minutes straight. Now I was like,
Jesus. Was it her?
no.
Oh, but
Sorry, I
um,
roast. We roast here. We have fun.
we have fun.
yeah, I can see that. And no, I'm totally up for that. So when they're doing these, whether it's like press tours or they're doing these filming missions, did you get a chance to maybe explore? Or did you have to stay on the plane the whole time?
Oh no, so you get to explore. So like when I was in the Galapagos Islands, we got to travel around. We stayed in this beautiful resort. So usually you don't get the private plane does not get to stay, but there was an opening at the tiny little hangar there that was like the island over. So we got to stay, which was amazing.
Mm.
The Galapagos
I don't think I
is
knew that.
Yeah, the Galapagos is a really special place and that and this family, by the way, this family goes every year in January because that's when all the animals come out. One of my favorite couples,
Mm.
they're not in the book because their story is so awesome that nobody really would care enough to read it. Sad but true. Okay, we like drama. But I'll tell you now because they are one of my favorite couples. There's a few couples that high five on takeoff, which I just think is so fun and rad because why not? They're like enjoying this frivolous life that they're living. They high five
Mhm.
on takeoff. They're having a blast. They have a few kids now. At the time they had one. This is what they do. They love to fly the Galapagos. They bring a friend, they bring some family, they bring, everybody's having a good time. And like that's kind of what life is about, right? So those are the couples that are most fun to fly. We get to stay, we get to do all the fun things, go to Kicker Island, things like this. So those are the perks of the job. As private flight attendants, we say we are supplying the vibe and traveling around on someone else's dream, you know? So, did
Yeah.
I ever think I'd be in the Galapagos? No, but like this is someone else's dream life to take their children and take their friends and go every year and blow up some steam and see some blue-footed amazing birds. Like, sure, I'm into that. Let's go.
The blue-footed booby.
Yeah, the blue-footed. So the best part about the job was living someone else's dream, flying around with them and getting to stay. That wasn't always the case, because there's a lot of entertainers. You're on tour, like, um, I'll just give you, there's a lot of movies that go on tour, right? That are franchises and they're here and they're
Mhm.
there and they're hopping from place to place. Like that is a job, right? Entertainers, they fly at night usually. They fly after the gig is done because they're done at what, 11 p.m., 12 p.m. is when venues and things are done. So then they might have a quick after party moment or whatever, but usually that last night they're back on the bus. They're back on the plane and you're going somewhere else. So it can be very glamorous and amazing. And I'm in the Galapagos and I'm sunning myself and I'm in St. Bart's and St. Kitts and like then I'm grinding in the middle of like Japan on an entertainment tour, you know?
I'm like not sleeping for 2
And
days.
not sleeping for 2 days. And then because two VVIPs need you at the same time. There can be that too, where you go from one hop to another, and that's the fun of it.
Have you had any? Trying to think how I want to do like stories because I feel like there's multiple angles of stories I can go to, but I guess,
Mm.
do like categories. Let's see. Has there been an experience where you've gotten to be kind of stranded and it took like really hard a long time, or did I guess have a difficult time trying to leave an area that was delay after delay?
Ooh, that's a great question. Let me think for a second because this was my rage slash trauma journal. There was a lot of delays that have walked out. So let me marinate for a second. 'Cause that's a really good question. I haven't had that yet. Have I been delayed aggressively somewhere? Oh, yeah, when I first started. Oh my God, my boss is gonna love this story. My ex-boss, who by the way is my favorite boss to this day. Love him so much. Shout out, you know who you are, because we already had a talk before the day the book came out. He knows how much I love him and his family. Okay, so when I first started flying him, they for him, he sent me to Hawaii. And everybody's like, "Oh, you flew from LA to Hawaii and I'm based in New York. That must be so amazing." And it was. And so 3 weeks in, I was like, "Okay, am I still like, what am I doing? I'm still like here in Hawaii. I'm covered in sunscreen. I can't be covered anymore. I've done my like 13 to 17-ish days a month. I'm ready to go home. Please, please now. My boss was like, what's the issue?
Yeah,
I'm like,
what
I
is the
think I
issue?
did. I think I did my days for the month and I'm ready to go home. He's like, just a couple more days and you're in
Hawaii.
Hawaii. What's the
Suck it up.
issue? I was
God.
like, well, I
Champagne
thought we had a thing.
problems.
No.
Oh my God, I'm stuck in Maui.
No,
Oh, my life
what?
is so hard.
I look back on that. My boss must have been like, is she mental? Is she okay?
Yeah. You were
But
trapped in like a trailer park in
it's like you're
Alabama.
by yourself. I was by myself. I wasn't
Yeah,
tied to a
that's true.
plane. I was like waiting on clients who were going on tour, going
Yeah.
here. I would fly a day here, a couple days there, and then go back. And it was like
And
back and forth.
people go to Hawaii with friends or loved ones, right? You're
Yeah.
not there like isolated by yourself normally.
Or I was with like, no
Yeah.
offense, pilots, but I was with like a 60-year-old pilot, and everybody was always like, oh, you know, a 60-year-old pilot that was like kind of being a dick to me, like a little bit, because we're like obviously not dating. And he's like, you know how like dudes are of that age, they're like a little bit mad at like millennials. I don't know what that is, but I don't know if it's the nasally voice or if it's the just like general ennui with life because it's like been so fucking hard for us, but
Yeah.
they're like a little bit hateful to me. So it looks like I'm in kind of abusive relationship with this dude
Yeah.
that is like absolutely not like completely undateable for me.
With the guy that keeps
Yeah.
saying nobody wants to work anymore while you're literally working. People your age hate work. No one
I'm
wants to
like,
do anything. You're like, I grind. What are you
I'm
talking? We're
trapped here
both
with
working.
you, listening to you. I don't want to work.
I kind of
Um,
can get your standpoint though of like you're in Hawaii, you've got your days caught up because you're in that work mindset, and it's like that
Yeah.
second when you're done with work, you're like, all right, I'm ready to go home. When
I
we
want
go
to see my
home,
dog.
it's time to
Let me
go.
pet that
But
dog.
then, but then it's also like, oh wait, I'm in Hawaii. I can like vacation while I'm here,
yeah.
and so you forget. But
Yeah.
I totally understand that
And
mindset
also,
of being like
yeah.
working, and you're like, okay, time to go. I'm done. We're
And you can
let's wrap it
you
up.
can overdose on paradise, right? Like there can be like at some point you're ready.
Yeah, but
Like it's only a vacation and you weren't on vacation, you were working, but it's
yeah,
only a
exactly.
vacation because it ends, right? If you're
Sounds like
like,
vacation to others also. Yeah, and that's a good point. It's only vacation because it ends. Yeah.
yeah,
And honestly, like looking back,
I'm Madison. And I
yeah,
know you were trying to get home.
yeah,
Tiny dog.
my sweet tiny dog. But again, like what I look back at that and I'm like, what a bitch.
She said, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here.
Exactly. My boss was like, can you shut up? Probably like, can you just shut up?
Just enjoy the beach and
Exactly.
the beautiful accommodation.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so yes, but on
That's a super relatable story
yeah,
about
so
getting trapped in
relatable.
paradise for 3 weeks and
There's
betting.
like an aggressive where we are trapped for a storm or something like that.
What about the hurricane thing?
Yeah, that was after.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really think I was ever really like trapped. Especially like I did have, friends and colleagues that were trapped when the pandemic happened, different places, but that was never really kind of my thing. I never really got trapped like that. I was very, very lucky.
Mm.
Yeah. But that was kind of a thing where people were trapped and a little bit of quarantining and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. There was a lot
Oh,
um funnily enough, there was a lot of back and forth on private jets to and from China around that time. And I don't know anything about the airlines really at that time because I was really kind of in private aviation at the thick of it. But there was a lot of like kind of back and forth. So we did have some friends that were quarantined here and there, stuck there and there. And my girlfriend was in every time she would go to Australia, I think she was like quarantined for like 2 weeks or
They were
something,
real
going in
strict
and
about
out.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but thank God. No, I have like such a cushy, bitchy experience that I almost feel like guilty sometimes that I wrote a book, but it was just so crazy that I feel like can we all just take a peek together so
Mm.
I don't lose my mind alone?
have there
Call.
been places where
I
you've
was with her every step of that journey. Alone? My ass.
have there been places you've visited that you're like, I'm never visiting here again. This is the worst place on earth that you've had to go to?
Oh, another good question.
Um,
You had a lot of bucket list.
love traveling anywhere and I just love to do something different. But I think,
Yeah, there it is.
okay, there's one place, and this is like so funny because where I'm in my life right now. But I was in Ireland for like 9 days.
Ha!
And I gotta say, I think about day 5, I was like ready to wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. I think we were like, I can't exactly remember where. Don't shoot me. We were in like a smaller, so sorry, Ireland. Love you so much. Like beautiful. Also, Tad bored,
Wee bit bored.
a wee bit bored. Is it yourself bored? Yes, it was myself bored. Okay. And I think part of it was the company that I was keeping. No offense again to the two pilots,
Some
but
offense.
um it was getting a little
Yeah, blue blue.
hard. Yeah, fast forward. It was beautiful, but it was just a long time to be in a thatched roof community. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Oh,
We
we
don't,
love it that
it was
true.
beautiful for night.
With a bit of a pint.
Well,
Everyone
Ireland's
closed very
also
early.
like very
Yeah.
much flatlands. I mean, is there really much to do in Ireland to begin with
Honestly, there
anyway?
wasn't a lot.
Drink blood sausage, I would imagine. Pretty big over there.
Yeah.
Well, ask Killian. We got a couple friends. Also, my boyfriend is Philadelphian, but his whole family is Irish. So we'll get him on the phone later. We'll talk to him about that.
I have
Find out
like
what to do with Donegal.
I actually did like a 23andMe DNA fun fact, and I saw that 100% of my heritage was from England or like was from Europe, and I think a majority of it was from Ireland. And I thought I
Is
don't
it
know how that.
yourself?
I was like, How did I? Okay, well, I definitely did not get any of the genes from that. I think I got red because I have red in my beard, but I have brown hair, so it makes
Yeah.
no sense. I'm just multicolored up here, but it's we think that's where my red comes from because it just
Okay.
started like a few years ago. I noticed that it gets real red out in the sun, but it looks brown,
Mm.
and that's the only thing that we can think of how the red hair redness comes is from our Ireland heritage. But I did not pick up any accent. I did not pick up any traits that they
Well, I don't
do.
think the
Like,
accent is genetic, but I bet you could
well.
fake. I bet you could do a good Irish accent if you practiced it. I bet you could get it. You could coax it out.
mm,
You don't have to do it now. We'll talk off air. We'll practice.
I don't know. As Southerners, we're very illiterate, so I mean, and they have to speak real proper
Yeah.
English, so that
I
would
mean,
just
tell
need to
us.
be a
Our
mix.
our family is North Carolina, Elizabeth City. We got family like all down in the Outer Banks. I also get red in my beard. We were British by way of like Viking people coming in,
Mm.
settling on the Outer Banks. So I feel you on the red beard a little bit. I used to shave it off and be like, whose hair is that? Like, what leprechaun shaved in my bathroom? But it was me, turns out.
Well, the thing is, the redness didn't come until years later because I started growing a beard when I was 15, 16, and it wasn't until I was in college till it started showing. It
Yeah.
was weird. It wasn't like a first thing that we saw, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird genetic thing that I have. No one in my immediate family has red except from like past ancestors, I guess from like World War I, World War II era, I think had was the last time that they had red in it or red in their hair. So
Okay.
we think that it's from that far back because no
Sure.
one in my immediate family has red hair. So
Well, no one in ours does either. My for our first cousin, Jesse, who is like 2 years younger than me, he also gets red in his beard. Shout out to Jesse and Justin and Megan and Michael. Hello. And Aunt Wendy and Uncle Jeff too. Hey fam.
the whole
It's the
family, if
family
you're
shame
listening,
on the podcast.
if y'all are listening, y'all have some explaining to do.
Right. Yeah.
I think one of the big stories a lot of people would say is probably who's been the worst gas you've flown. And this can be multitude of stories. This can be multiple different ones, but has there been like a particular gas that's just been the worst of the worst where you're like,
I'm gonna answer that. Yes. And also next question, because we're not naming names. Nice try.
I do have a
I'm
story that
kidding.
didn't make it in the book.
I'm joking, no. Yes, tell a story. Tell we got some doozies, babe. We got some doozies with them. But
So the one
it
that's
was pretty bad.
there, yeah, the one that I will tell that's not in the book is like that.
Oh yeah.
So there was this client that they used to own the plane, which we love those because like you
Yeah.
just when they own the plane, you like fly with them to their fabulous locations and you're kind of a little bit closer to them, right?
Some of the charters.
Than someone that like charters and they're with random people all the time. So we love people that own their own planes. And so her and her husband have to use a different, smaller plane because theirs is under maintenance or something. And so they get on the plane and I'm told that I need to have these specific magazines out for them. So I have the magazines out. I take a picture before they come on board. They come on board, they sit down. My boss emails me, why aren't the magazines out? I was like,
Like
so
they're
the magazines are right here. Like, what are you talking about? Oh, they're all exactly as they asked. So I send him the picture that's obviously time stamped before they got on the plane.
right.
And he's just trying to cause an issue and get some like money off the flight, saying that I didn't have the right magazines out. Crazy.
billionaires looking for a deal. It's just that's horrifying to me.
So like I'm getting in trouble
Oh,
because I don't have the right magazines out. Thank God I took a picture. You know what I mean?
right.
Then later in the flight, I'm in the galley making their like snack or whatever. And I have the little partition closed because on their plane it's much larger and there's not as much noise. On this plane, there's a lot of noise. It's a little smaller. So I've just closed the door. All of a sudden, I hear her like screaming like bloody fucking murder. Okay. And she is throwing something against the door, and I hear bam against this little door that vibrates. And so I open the door. Are you okay? Is everything okay? She's like, where have you been? Why is the door closed? My ears are coming out. And now she's screaming about her ears like an absolute crazy person. And like a, like a
Her ears were,
child
like,
who like
popping.
can't, her ears were popping. Like a normal person in the air. I'm like, could you do you have a stick of gum? Could you pretend you have a stick of gum? Could you take a swig of water? Could you
Try
swallow
yawning.
anything? Yawn, whatever. She's screaming like bloody murder. So I'm like, oh my God, okay. I have a hack for that. So by the way, if this ever happens to you, you take a paper cup, any kind of cup you have, put a hot paper towel in the bottom or a dry paper towel with hot steaming water on it, and then you put it over your ears, and it will pop.
Oh.
It'll change the pressure, and the steam will help pop the ears open. It's great for babies. It's great for screaming lady babies. It's great for all kinds of things.
For 70-year-old shakers on private jets.
Yeah, but I would say that is, I mean, there are so many more crazy stories in the book, and there are some guys who are really aggressive, and you know who you are.
Yeah.
You know who you
You
are.
know who you are.
And I won't tell those stories today because this is way funnier.
I will. Out of my way.
And this one didn't make the book because it was just, I mean, there's so many crazy
Because
stories
it's
that
not
never
so much
made
of
the
a
book.
story. Like the choices that we made for stories were ones that had like meat, a little more meat on their bones than just like this lady was screaming. I
Yeah.
mean, horrifying.
Yeah.
But had we
They were pretty bad,
it was tough to make like
that couple.
that was one of the ones that we trimmed towards the end.
Oh, the last
What
bit of
should have
gossip
been.
about that
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
okay, that couple, was that she was like known as being such a bitchy wife. Everybody would be like, "Oh, is she going crazy again?" Oh. Like, oh, his friends like, "Is she having a good day today?" Like, when is she ever having a good day? She'd take a good day and mash it into the ground. Like, the woman is never having a good day. The
Screaming.
tiniest, bitchiest woman you've ever seen in your life. It's so sad too because they have everything and they're crazy about dumb shit, like yelling at me because the door is closed. Like, babe, the door's closed because you'd be yelling at me if it was open that the plane's too loud, and there's literally nothing I can do about that.
But it is almost like because they have all of their needs met, right? In ways a lot of us struggle, all their big problems are solved. So the tiniest things are now elevated to this position of like, whereas we get frustrated when we can't pay our rent, or it's tough,
Yeah.
like, you know, I don't know, insert some common poor people problem that the rest of the world has comparatively. And because, her ears won't pop, like that is now something that deserves her full rage and attention. And
Yeah, which towards
it's just
somebody
wild.
that's meant to help her.
Right. And what are you going to do about it? Like, how do
Help.
you solve a problem? Right. It's do it for me. Like, I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
fascinating. So, like, from the outside perspective, that's what I always saw was these people are, they have, by all accounts, made it by Western standards, right? And yet they still find things to melt down over. Like, you're supposed to be happy, but like you've checked down the list of all the things that we're told we need to be happy, healthy, successful, well-adjusted human beings, right? We're sold this dream in the West that like you have to hit these milestones, and once you reach the summit equals happiness. And yet these people were all walking, living, breathing, screaming proof that it doesn't matter. Money doesn't make you happy. I mean, it's a cliche,
Yeah.
but seeing it in real time hits differently. It just amplifies whatever you are, I
Yeah,
think.
it's a good way for them to hide the true what they have from the cameras. Because on cameras, they'll put this mask on that's my life's perfect. I
Mhm.
have everything I want. I'm happy. The second them cameras are off, and the one place that people are going to assume that no one's ever going to find out is on a plane. That's when the real thing comes out. That's when the real personality comes out. And I'm not saying that every celebrity's like that. Usually hopefully, and I hope, this is just like an outsider and just from stories I've heard, but usually the people you see on screen or on camera in front of interviews, usually how they are behind the scenes. But then there's some people that are, they've they put this thing on that's fine, and then once the
Mask.
cameras are off and there's nothing away and there's no cameras inside, they show that true realness about what's going on. I'd say this for like an interesting for the couples that you've had, because there've been like multiple news stories about couples that get divorces and they've you've seen like these downfalls. Have you firsthand seen these kind of downfalls happen on a plane and you kind of have had the realization of, yeah, they're not going to last long and they're going to get a divorce or break up here soon?
Hmm.
Oh yeah. There's like a very um let me say this like a blind item. There was a very, I would say like A plus list celebrity going through like a very public situation with his like girl.
There's
And
me in a wig. I was
it was hard to watch. It's hard to watch because you fly them as a couple, then you fly them with the thing that's causing the issue, and then you fly the couple again. And the reality is like, let's just be real. A lot of times these girls know, they don't know what's up. As women, we don't always know exactly what's up, but we know like something's up. And so
Mhm.
I know I'm not a cog in the wheel. I have nothing to do with any of this, but it just is like disheartening because you know that as soon as that woman finds out or that person that's getting um cheated on or disrespected or whatever, you know, as soon as they find out, it's gonna like crush them. So there were a couple instances with like very, very high profile men that just I could see what was going on. They've said things behind the scenes, they've said things, that I will never repeat, but just were like heartbreaking to see. And these women eventually found out for their own because the truth always comes out. The truth
Mm.
always, always, always comes out. And it's not
Yeah.
because of people like me. It's because
People like him.
people like that are cheating, they surround themselves. When you get to a certain level of celebrity, usually they surround themselves with yes men and yes women. And so nobody's telling them like no, nobody's being like think about this and
Mm.
do this and because it's all fun and games. It's all good if you're cheating and we're going to Vegas and there's all this X, Y, and Z going, then I get to be a part of that as the baby girl entourage, right?
And they're not going to fuck up their
Yes,
position
they're not
in the
gonna
entourage by mirroring back a healthy
no, a healthy
point of view.
relationship for someone. So like, I always thought and wished that there would be some like psychological training for professional athletes and celebrities to help them maintain healthy
Mm.
relationships and boundaries within their entourages and circles because I always thought it would help prevent their public demise. It would
Less of a
help
free fall.
prevent, yeah, like, and cheaters are going to cheat, right? But like,
No,
Yeah.
that's
maybe you don't have to cheat because of your small ego. Maybe you don't have people surrounding yourself that are going to support the downfall of your marriage or the downfall of your because they love a good party or whatever.
yeah.
And also, like, I just want to say that, like, open relationships are a thing.
Yes, they
And
are.
so, as the public, we need to, like, back off. There's a lot of open relationships that happen that we are not privy to because money puts you and power puts you in positions that you would never think. So, do people want to ruin their whole relationships over things like that? No. But will they have an open relationship? Yes, they will. So there's a lot more happening behind the scenes than we as lay people and civilians realize. And so a lot of the talk that we do is irrelevant and doesn't matter because we live monogamous lifestyles, which are not what a lot of celebrities and people with money and power live.
Also, some broke people. Thank
That
you.
I can also imagine that when you're experiencing these kind of domestic situations and as well as these kind of things as a flight attendant, I bet it's so uncomfortable having to sit there and kind of endure all this kind of back and forth tension. And, you could be stuck on this plane for 6, 7+ hours, or you could be stuck on this plane for a whole day and you can't get off. And so you're just having to sit there with this awkward tension. Has there been like Have there been any scary instances of, because you've also heard people say that, they kind of do drugs on planes. Have you ever seen like a celebrity almost like do drugs on a plane to the point where they're like, oh my Lord, he's about to overdose, we need to land now and get him or her to a hospital? Or have you had any like scary medical scenarios like that?
Thankfully, I did not have anything crazy like that. I did have a girl that I went to school with who was flying like a very famous rapper who had an issue on a plane and they had to have an emergency landing. They were fine. It wasn't due to drugs. It was just this person is known to have that medical emergency. So when it happened, it hit, they just, landed to take him to the nearest hospital. Yeah, but fortunately, I haven't ever had any of that. I'm trying to think the craziest medical anything I ever had. I really didn't have much. I did have a small fire on a plane once. I did have actually with my boss on the plane, which you can't have a better experience with your boss on the plane on fire. His partner caused it. It was fine. Everything was fine. It was great. We just didn't use oven anymore. Um, but I can't think of any medical emergencies that I had to tend to.
Yeah.
I did have a client, and this is a common thing. Some of you at home might have heard this or wrestle with it, where like you can get to altitude and they will have a nerve that runs up through the center of the face that feels like it's on hot fire. Yeah, and there's absolutely nothing you can do except get them down from altitude and be home and resting that will stop that nerve from firing like
through your
that.
face?
It runs up right through the
Hmm.
center of the face. I've had two clients that have had that. One was afraid that it was going to happen, and one had it slightly happen, but it wasn't that bad. I think we dropped down to like
Runs
a
up
little
like
bit lower, and it was
the
okay.
forehead?
Yeah, it runs right up. I think I don't know enough about it, but it was
Oh.
like, yeah, there's literally nothing you can do, and that you don't know what sets it off. If you're on a commercial flight, obviously you can't land.
Yeah,
If
you
you're on a
suck
private jet, you can land, but
for the climb.
you also like screw your whole trip up, so it's not ideal.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're trained for all kinds of medical emergencies, especially as private jet flight attendants. And
For crash landings and stuff.
yeah, for all kinds. We have, yeah,
Yeah.
lots of training for stuff like that. Thankfully, I never ran into any of it, but you're always prepared. And as a flight attendant, you're never allowed to give medicine to clients. So that's not something that's like in our wheelhouse, but we are trained to act in the event of an emergency. And there is a defibrillator on every single plane.
It's kind of like stereotypical, like first aid kit. What kind of would be appropriate for like a normal normal flights
Yeah.
thing? Okay, I gotcha. You know, it's a little surprising that, for celebrities that have these private jets that don't have like specialized medicine for them that most commercial flights wouldn't have in their first aid kit. So I kind of it's a little surprising that they kind of kept it fair to where, well, commercial flights have this general me medical aid kit, but so then that means that all private jets have to have it too. That's interesting because I would have thought that they would have to have like specialized first aid kits if they have like you said that your friend had that rapper had like a medical emergency, and if it was a medical emergency that they've had it happen before, that they could have like special tools or medicine or anything on the plane. So that is actually interesting.
Yeah,
um
well, their crew, their own entourage, and his assistant or himself, he would be in that instance, that the client would be responsible for bringing all that with them. People think that lots of rappers own planes and stuff, and musicians. Most celebrities do not own their own planes. They are just renting, and even they're usually not renting. The studio is renting, and they're on tour. They're promoting stuff.
Yeah.
So usually, if you see you don't normally see like celebrities taking their own renting private jets to go on vacation and stuff. If that's a lot rarer than we think. If they're on private jets, the studio is usually paying for it.
Vacation they might rent, but if they're on
Vacations
tour,
time.
they're not paying for their tour.
They're not paying for the
Jet.
tour,
Yeah.
but also like celebrities, because they don't own their own planes, they don't fly as much privately as we think they do. I mean, there was a celebrity that was just talking about, was it, God, I don't think it was Ed Sheeran, but it was somebody talking about how they much prefer to take planes or no, I'm sorry, they much prefer to fly commercial, take trains and buses when they travel.
Mm.
Because one, they're concerned about the environment, and two, it's also just a little bit, you could flying on private jets is a very expensive addiction.
Mm.
It is amazing. It's the best candy you've ever had in your life as an adult. Nothing will ever taste as sweet as rolling up to the airport whenever
That
you want,
first time.
within like a 2 hour window, with all your luggage dragging behind you, 1,000 different bags. Who cares what you bring? You just roll up whatever you want. They have all the food that you asked for. Everything's perfect as you want on your rider. It is
Yeah.
the sweetest nectar that a human adult can experience, but it will bleed you dry if you can't afford it. It's a mistress that will suck the ever loving life out of you.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's
funny.
people, not everybody flies as private as they think they do.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I just like to say that. So keep your eyes peeled because you'll see a lot of people sneaking into first class, especially now. That's why everybody's on tour right now because everybody's broke. Things got
Have you
really
s-
expensive. Yeah,
do
sorry.
you see kind of the future, like more celebrities flying commercial since the economy now, everything's gone up. Do
Oh.
you see more celebrities flying commercial flights in the future? Or could there be a chance that private jets are more popularized again to where celebrities would be more willing to do private jets?
What I hope is that the airlines mess it up for all of us so royally that private jets come in and they fill this gap where they maybe do like, maybe it's not just a private jet of like 20 seats, but they fill maybe a little bit mid gap. Maybe it's like 50 seats or something, and they give us an option to fly smaller, but not with all the hoi polloi and nonsense that is in commercial jets right now, because it is crazy.
Yeah,
But
people are going nuts on
I think that celebrities are gonna fly, and people with money are gonna fly commercial a lot more right now, just in first class
Hmm.
than private, because everything's getting so crazy expensive, But I also
Yeah.
do see, yeah, there's also been a big tax cut, I think, among jets. So I do see a lot of like private entities owning more jets. For instance, I
Mm.
think like Drake's jet. I'm not sure that Drake owns it. I think it's like leased from the company, kind of like to OVO. Is a sort of like mutually beneficial partnership situation. So I think maybe we'll see a lot more of that. Honestly, I hope that we see a lot more private jets becoming like a thing. You know what I mean? Because it would just be fun for all of us.
Yeah.
Oh, like more accessible.
More accessible, or we just like, I would love more people to share more stories about what happens on their private jets. Don't be so stingy with the drama, people.
One thing that I have a kind of questioned is when you have like paid time off, do you have to stay close by to um you may have answered this question earlier, but um have you had to kind of live in one location? Like if most of your clients fly out of Los Angeles, do you have to stay kind of in the LA area and for like part time off, and then if you do get like days off, you have to stay in that area so that when you start back working again, that you'll be in the area. Or did you have to travel from city to city depending on where the person was flying out of?
Okay, so I was based out of New York, which meant that usually most of my flights would be out of like the tri-state area, right? We'll fly to Teterboro, which is New Jersey. We'll fly to White Plains. We'll fly to Farmingdale. So I had to be
State and
living.
Long Island,
Yeah.
respectively.
Yeah. And sometimes even there's a small airport in Connecticut that would be done
Oh, yeah.
too. Um,
Okay.
I've been
yeah.
through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to be based and live. I had to have my home base in New York. That didn't mean a ton, except that most I would be, not that I would be living and staying there a lot because I ended up flying like 25 days a month, but that
Hmm.
I would be, most of my flights would originate out of there.
Most of them.
Most of them.
Gotcha.
But
Because they
there's a
did fly you out. I remember they would often send you to other places to pick up
Yes,
your
I would
jets.
pick
Yeah.
up a lot of clients and or meet the jet in LA.
Yep.
But New York and
Mm.
LA are the largest in the United States, the two largest hubs for private jets. And so because my original boss and then all my subsequent families after that were all based out in the Northeast, here in New York City specifically, this was the home base. But there was a
Gotcha.
lot of, because we are even private families that have homes in New York, the second location they usually have a home is LA. So there was a lot of back and forth between LA. I mean, LA was kind of my second home for a long time. There would be a lot of downtime hanging in LA for a couple days here and there between trips. And maybe I would be able to, with permission from my boss, be able to pop down and see like a girlfriend in San Diego or Manhattan Beach for a night or two, and then kind of pop back up. But you really kind of have to stay close, just in
Gotcha.
case if you work for a charter company, they might book, let's say you're going to be in LA for 5 days, you fly New York to LA, then the client's going to be in LA for 5 days. Maybe they sell the plane to go to Phoenix for an overnight or 2 nights and then back. So you have to be close. You can't be like doing whatever you want. You need to be ready to fly and the plane needs to be stocked and things like that in case you could maybe pick up a charter in the interim. Not everybody works like that, but it is, yeah, it did happen a lot. And even private families that own their jets will sometimes charter them out as a little bit of offset
Yeah.
of
Because
the
why not?
cost.
Okay.
Of the cost, yeah.
It's just so much. Like if you owned your own jet, that was one of the things you used to talk about. If like to own it, the overhead on maintaining something like that. I mean, with the fuel and the storage and just the general depreciation of like a
Things
piece
that
of
break.
equipment like that. Yeah, like it costs a shit ton
It's
of money,
expensive.
a shit ton to own it. That's why, you don't
Yeah.
really see a ton of people owning it. Corporations own planes,
Exactly.
right? People that,
It's a write-off.
billionaires that don't really notice it, but it will, even if you're not chartering all the time, it will drain you
Yeah.
over time
Yeah.
because,
That's why the studios own the planes, the hedge funds own the planes, the banks own the planes, right? And so like even my clients that owned their planes, their companies own the plane.
right, they owned it. The
Yeah,
company owned
the
it.
company owned it. It was
The
in the
company,
company's name.
but it's them, yes.
Smart.
No air quotes. Yeah.
Give me that jet.
I gotcha. So
Let me on it.
so if you had to like stay in LA for like a few days,
Yeah.
do your boss have everything covered to where you could actually stay anywhere and didn't have to use your own money to have to pay for
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah, so that's all covered. With the great part is usually like this is the hard part was that sometimes they'll give you a credit card, right? With like, and you put everything on a credit card. Sometimes you put it on your own credit card. I had a little bit, mostly it was my own credit card, which got so dicey because it just was like, sometimes you're not paid in time because that and then you have to pay the interest or whatever. Sometimes it just got a little bit messy, and also I just got so busy that doing invoicing every day, sometimes I was working like 18, 20-hour days. Like I didn't have time to invoice, so they would build up. So it was harder. As I moved through like different iterations of the job, it was getting hard to get paid more, getting reimbursed. My first boss was amazing about that.
Yeah.
But it became where everything was covered, which was amazing. And you got to pick
That's
your
good.
hotel for the most part and things like that. But sometimes as you got into charter agencies and charter companies that managed other people's jets and things, they were really skimping on hotels. We were getting in gross, unsafe places. And it kind of became a thing where like, you have women that you've hired that present a certain way. You want us to be good looking. You want us to be well put together. You want us to look a certain way that we like have money, maybe kind of, present well, but then you're putting us in crappy hotels. It's very dangerous. There were some pilots who were choosing hotels that were like outside. So you walk along it was like a motel. You walk along the outside of the motel. There was one company that put us on an island after a hurricane with 3 hotels open. They put us in a hotel that had no staff after 5 p.m. We were there by ourselves. And like we're sitting ducks. Like people know we fly in on private jets. Like you think that they don't have eyes at the airport? You think that they don't have eyes on people that are flying major celebrities in? That the whole world is watching right now. It's kind of terrifying that sometimes these charter companies have 23, 24, 25-year-old dudes sitting at these pivotal desks, putting us in like $99 a night hotels. I mean, I remember
scrimping, trying to save a buck in the right
trying to
place.
save a buck. I remember having to call my boss and be like, there's no staff here. we had one pilot leave, so it's just me and one other pilot, two people at the resort after dark. No security, nobody at the front desk, so it got to a point where it was just kind of like, what are we doing here? If you don't,
Yeah.
there became no respect for the worker. So there became a problem with kind of what it felt like corporation wage theft. There felt like an unsafe work practices for women, which is unacceptable
Yeah.
because we're in remote countries by ourselves, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's kind of it kind of gets to those points where if they're putting you in these crappy places that could give you more options of, well, maybe if you don't want to stay here, you can stay here. Honestly, in these like cities where it's like run down, it's like you even have to start to the point where you want to start trying to build relationships with some of the people that live there. So then that way, if you don't like the place that they put you in, you can call someone and be like, so there's been a problem with the hooking us up with a motel. The motel's not really, it's run down. No one's working here. Is there a way that we can come stay at your place just for the night?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they
you
would
get,
call that a handler. Usually we would have a handler on like islands and private like places that we go. Even when you land at the airport, like in France or whatever, they will absolutely have a handler for you. And so you would call the handler and be like, help.
Mhm.
Fortunately, I feel like I was really blessed in a lot of different ways and that I could just call my boss and be like, this is not working. This is terrible. And he would handle it with the charter company we were working with or that kind of thing. And then once you got to Part 91s where you're flying directly for the client and the billionaires themselves, and there's no real management company, some of them are big enough and special enough, like running their own operations where it's just very small. So that's really the ideal thing because
Yeah.
you have so much more control over that, They as a
And they don't
crew
care where
say,
you stay.
yeah, they'd be like, where would you like to stay? We usually stay here. Is that comfortable? Are you cool there? That kind of a thing. We go here all the time. This is where we
Yeah.
like to stay.
It's more inclusive
It's
too. They're
inclusive.
not
Yeah.
off.
It's not like, yeah, like a Berkshire Hathaway kind of situation. No offense to them, where
Some
they're
offense
like,
to them.
maybe a lot of offense to them, where they're kind of because they're trying to make a buck, you're in like a crappy hotel sometimes,
Mm.
It's interesting that y'all called y'all's book the Mile High Club, and it's most people when they read that they'll think of one thing. So
Yeah.
have you had any crazy sexual things happen with these guests on planes? Whether it's, which I would assume, and it's kind of could be like a kind of a backup question. The layout of these private jets, is it typical of like how commercial flights are where the bathrooms are small, or do they have more kind of a private thing where they have space to where, oh, there's kind of like a bed, kind of a bed that they can sleep in. They don't have to sleep in the seats or have to lay on like this long chair. So is
Yeah.
there kind of accommodations like that on these private jets have bigger bedrooms and even kind of a big bathroom?
Mm. So I like to just about the title of the book, I like to say the Mile High Club, we think of people having like fucking on planes.
Mm-hmm.
The real Mile High Club is billionaires fucking everyone on Earth from their jets, right? So
Mm,
it's not really why we chose the title, but because
I
the real Mile High
gotcha.
Club. But I do like, you know, it's there was some sex in there, and I'll let Danielle get into that.
Yeah,
But
there's a little bit
yeah,
of sex in the book,
but it's
but
not sex driven book. It's a bit of a misnomer with the title.
so the first chapter, dear readers, is called Great Sexpectations. So we highly invite everyone to read the first
Well,
chapter.
read the whole book.
But oh, well, to the end, please, darlings. But I will say, there wasn't as much sex on planes as I thought there was going to be. I did have a couple girls that I hired as flight attendants that worked that I trained and worked under me and with me. That had a couple situations, but it wasn't as crazy as you thought. And in that instance, we just say politely end the service. Thank you so much for that. And close the door behind you, and service has now ended for the night.
And
But
the planes allowed for that, right? Because
yeah,
there was,
it's
yeah.
different areas. So you get on the plane. They can be a bunch of different configurations, but there will always be an area that you can pull a bed out. Some have a designated bed in the back. The bathrooms tend to be a little small, not nearly as small as on a commercial jet. There's room to move around in there, but if you're on a private jet, you don't need to be in the bathroom.
Banging.
You know, you
You'd
can
be
be
in the
in,
bed.
you
Be in
can
the
be
bedroom.
anywhere on the private jet. It just your flight attendant will just not be with you probably, unless back to the first chapter, in which case your flight attendant might be with you, but it won't be me.
I really, and half the stories that they've told, I'm pretty sure they have hundreds and thousands more of stories on here. And, it's one of those things where it's one of these books that you have to read. What's been the overall, and I have seen that the book did come out in July, that
Mhm.
it's been out for a little while. Can you share a little bit about how what's been the consensus from the public, what some of the reviews you received for the book, and just kind of,
Across the board.
I know I'm gonna have to let James answer that because I have learned to not
Yeah.
read about myself if I want to have any self-esteem or confidence at all.
Well, it
So
makes
I'll let
sense.
James take it
Yeah.
away.
It makes sense like when you hear about people saying like they don't read the reviews of their performances or they don't like, when it's been a mixed bag. There have been some people who are jumping to the defense. There's some people that are commiserating. There's some people who are just, outright hateful. And I imagine they're like that in most of their life, not just when it comes to books that they, saw an advertisement for or read about in the Daily Mail. Um, but yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag, which is what we expected. It's getting people talking for sure. It's getting attention. We're excited about where this could go from here.
We have a couple studios that have been talking to us about
Yeah.
potentially taking it somewhere else, which could be really fun to have the Mile High Club as a TV show or as a movie.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants that, we would love for you to petition
Join the
HBO Max. What
Okay.
else?
No, we're not shilling, okay? There are people who have already made if you want to throw your hat in the ring, get in there because it's trains are leaving stations.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, it's um it's good. We're happy with it. I think we're happy with it right now. And especially the
Great
potential.
press.
Yeah,
It's
we got
really
some great press.
We've got some really good press. We're having a lot of fun on the podcast. I think people are genuinely shocked reading this is kind of what it's like being in like this elite world. And so the feedback has been mixed, but listen, true stories are crazier than fiction. So if you've read it, we
Yeah,
invite you to leave a review somewhere.
yeah.
Tell us what you thought. Find us at Mile High Club Stories everywhere on TikTok, on Instagram. If you want to see us in TV show and movie, we're making it happen. We're trying.
And tell your studios.
Tell your studios, tell your favorite studios.
Yeah. Thanks
but
so much for joining us, Emma.
you're more than welcome. And as I always say, I'll put all the links for their stuff in the description box below. I'll put links for their book and everything. I appreciate that y'all's book is on Apple Books because I've had other authors on here and none of their books are on there. And so when I want to go and look at
Yeah.
it while I'm trying to type it in and like look at it, it never pops up. And I'm just like, I'm not going about to go on Amazon and look it up. So I appreciate that there's finally like a link I can put for y'all's book on there as
Yes, thank
well.
you.
So I will put for that
For
and
anyone
everything
else, it's
else.
available everywhere books are sold as well. If you're someone who doesn't do Apple Books, it's Amazon, it's Books A Million, it's Barnes and Noble.
It's
But
Audible. They let us read the Audible and the audiobook, which was very funny, which they made us audition for, which I was like, who could do it better? And they
sorry.
said an entire industry of voice actors. That's like kind of their thing. I was like, oh,
Oh, right.
sorry.
Also, Danielle reads the entire book except for chapter 2, which is my chapter that I wrote as like a whatever for the people. But I did not audition. I wrote her coattails into the industry, just like I did for the book. Snuck in right
He's
behind
trying to
her.
steal the spotlight.
Yep. Oh, always. I feel like I mentioned that at the top. Just ignore me, guys. No, don't.
Well, I
What?
appreciate you both for coming on. I mean, I guess one final question I'll end on has anyone ever, even if they've never have met y'all, have they actually guessed any of the celebrities right that they've told? Have there ever been like, sh no, that's not who it is, and then you're like, oh, that was a close one.
I have not seen it.
Mm-mm.
People have
And
made a lot of guesses, but no one so far, from what I know, people have been like, oh, you're talking about this person, right? And I've never had to lie to date.
Fact. And let
What
me
about
give you a
you?
great example. So
More reasons for no.
I feel like, well, I feel like people ask this, and in my description, I feel like everybody we've described in this book, there are multiple people who could have done these things,
Yeah,
whether they're
probably.
famous or not. So I'll give you a good example. If I were to say
Uh,
an A-list, um, an A-list north of the border singer, who would you say?
I have two or three in
yeah,
mind.
exactly.
Exactly. And that's the point. Like
That's
everybody that you can think for every one of these stories, I personally can think, oh, yeah, actually, somebody else did that and somebody else did that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like people, even if you guess, I'll never tell.
Yeah.
Right.
Never
That,
tell. And you're
to say.
you're right and you're wrong, right? Because so many people have done these things. They're so crazy, crazy, but also normal at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole point of the book, and it gets fun. It's like if people are trying to figure it out. When I did my classmate episode, and I've talked about other episodes as well as of people, but I've always bleeped them out. I always bleep it out because I like people to guess who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And and when I did my whole class ranking, I've not had one student reach out to me and be like, "Oh, so this was directed at me, or this was directed at so and so." I'm still waiting for that because
Yeah.
it
Waiting
was
for the
such
shoe to
a
drop. Yeah.
I'm just waiting for someone to actually like speak out of it, which honestly, if they could use a brain, they could probably easily figure out who I was talking about because I
Yeah, they
actually
lived it.
did it a certain way. So if they could, which I didn't go with a smart class, but
Yeah,
I I appreciate you both for coming on. I think
man.
that this book is, you know, our world's real messed up right now, and everyone's going through something, and just have some kind of funny kind of drama but tea-filled story, but it doesn't really expose anyone. It's a good guessing game, and I think it's a good thing for people to kind of for an escape. And
Thank
you know,
you.
y'all's interview just with me on here has been really bubbly. Y'all have good personalities. I mean, y'all have such a good combo, and y'all can do interviews really, really well. So I highly recommend that people go read the book and listen to the book and help support them. That it's a new project that they've really started doing, and highly suggest that you show that. And again, I'll put all their links below. If you would like to follow me on social media as well for my listeners, Instagram and TikTok, it's Lethal Venom Podcast on there. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, it's Noah's Podcast. So feel free to follow those if you'd like to keep information about the podcast on the social media side. And then if you'd like to follow the podcast or wherever you get your podcast from, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Pandora. It's really everywhere. So feel free to listen to it wherever you get it. Subscribe so you get new episodes. So you get notified when new episodes come out. Thank you to my listeners for tuning in today. Y'all have a great rest of your day and a great week. Y'all stay safe, and I'll see you on the next episode of Lethal Venom.